wanted to talk about today is the concept of addiction in and of itself. And so a few phases of this. So first of all, what addiction can represent, what it is, its purpose in terms of incarnating, and also how we can frame it into a different aspect within our consciousness, in terms of loving others, in terms of self-love, and moving through the stages and phases of our understanding of our own conscious journey here on Earth. So souls, some of the bravest souls, will incarnate in terms of the trajectory of their life path to take on heavy darkness, extreme darkness. And specifically in this video, we're going to talk about addictions. And addictions can come in all forms. Addictions can be drug addictions, alcohol addictions, addictions to pleasure, the body, gambling addiction, shopping addiction, eating addiction. So I want to break this down a little bit in terms of our understanding of addictive behaviors. So when we are in our unincarnated state, so when we are in the oneness, the completeness of source energy, where that which is our home, we feel this pervasive love. We're not separate from anything. We are together in the beauty, in the safety of this state. And so it is a conscious choice that the soul makes in terms of our evolution to move from this completeness, this oneness, into this separate experience of a body, of a physical form. But in this physical form, we are separate from this oneness, but it's a perceived perception. So it is the lens of experience that allows us to have this spiritual amnesia and experience this division from our source, this division from our home. And so there's two ways that this can manifest. Well, multiple ways, but in terms of this particular lecture, I'm going to talk about two forms of manifestation. So first of all, this darkness will be taken on in terms of a soul's blueprint or a soul's contract, because that soul is trying to detach itself from the need to have ego. It's trying to learn compassion. It's trying to learn humility. And it's through this path of absolute darkness, absolute detachment, that the soul at a very foundational level basically detaches from its ego. So it's an extremely painful path. It's an extremely difficult path. And the addiction itself is the breaking point that allows the deepest experience of the crumbling of the ego. Because when there's such darkness, when there's such density, when there's such chaos, and when the body and the form is broken down in this perpetual cycle of just everything falling apart, the only thing left standing can be the return to oneness, can be this state of faith, this holding on to unconditional love, which brings the soul back to the recognition of itself. And that's why so often the only way to get out of this perpetual cycle of addiction is through faith, is through spirituality, okay, is to the return to the remembrance of oneness. Now, the other side of the coin that I want to talk to, or I want to give credence to in this video, is the fact that any incarnation here in a dense planet like planet Earth is going to be difficult. And so often this mechanism of self-soothing that comes through the path of addiction happens because of the spiritual amnesia, because this feeling of separation. And so for a brief moment, the consciousness dulls that experience of anxiety, that experience of separation, say with a drink, or that escapism of a drug, or that perceived pleasure with, another form of a body, whatever it is. It's that escape of the reality of separateness. And what happens often is this self-soothing becomes a deliberate cycle. Instead of doing the soul work, that soul can get forgot, or that soul can forget in essence that, what it's trying to accomplish. And my apologies, there's multiple individuals outside my door today, so I'm trying to go through this, but normally I have a quiet environment to film in, but there's a lot of chaos going on outside my office in a good way. Okay, but what the purpose of why I'm trying to film this, or what I'm trying to get across, is that in the state of transformation, when we are moving from an addicted state back to this realization of purpose, the steps and the deliberate work that we're putting into turning about and reorientating our energy, our soul, our aura back into the love and the light. One of the most important things that we have to do is recognize that the experience of the darkness has yielded many lessons. And one of the most powerful lessons, and probably one of the most prominent lessons that any of this experience in the darkness will propagate, is compassion, is an understanding that if we can fall, if we can break, if we can become broken, that we can have compassion for all others in all other states. So oftentimes, even those souls that have incarnated in these, high status, highly visible lives, which again are very, very notable in terms of the way that human beings view them, some of the most powerful transformations are actually when a soul is or has chosen to incarnate as, say, a street person or an addict or something that is heavily laden in these lower density states, because you yield so much learning from the movement through the darkness. When we walk that steady path back towards the light, there's just so much catalyst for learning. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up because obviously there's a lot going outside in the office, so I need to get back to it. But I just wanted to jump on and offer some inspiration, some insight, and a beautiful lens to look at the path we may have traveled in our lifetimes previously, or in this particular incarnation, in terms of our journey towards learning, compassion, deconstruction of the ego, humility, and our quest to find our own righteous path and purpose in this lifetime.